Hey, Launch family. In today's episode, we cover the stages of entrepreneurship. There are stages. You could be just starting off. You could be in that middle section where you're scaling your offer, or you could be at 6 figures struggling to get to 7 figures. But we cover it all. There's something for everybody in this episode. And we have the discussion with 3 of our Launch Club coaches. They have literally helped hundreds of entrepreneurs grow and scale their business to the next level. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about Launch Club and how it could help you scale your business to the next level, check out the show notes. We'll have a link to talk to one of our experts in there for you. Now, here's today's Dare to Launch. Is there a mindset shift that has to happen for people to be able to operate at that 7-figure versus the 6-figure level?
There's 2 voices you're going to hear. One is the voice in your head that's programmed by everything that you've experienced in your life. And the second is the market reaction. Believe the market reaction.
There's this quote that gets thrown around all the time, is that the magic that you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding.
There are people out there who are willing to pay 10 times, maybe even 100 times what you think they're willing to pay to solve that problem.
And then you might have this feeling of like, I'm so good at what I do. Can I trust anybody else to let this go?
Stop being the solopreneur, stop being this, and become a leader.
Hello, Launch family. Welcome to Dare to Launch. My name is Chris. And in today's episode, we're doing something a little different. We are actually joined by 3 very special guests. All 3 of them are coaches in our Launch Club coaching program. And today's topic that we're going to be talking about is the levels of entrepreneurship. And I think you'll see as they introduce themselves why we have the 3 of them on. But yeah, Barry, why don't you kick us off here and tell us a little bit about yourself and your role on the team.
Thanks so much, Chris. It's really good to be here. Hey, Dare to Launch family. Really nice to meet you guys. My name is Barry Friedman. I've been a coach on Jeff's team for 5 years. I'm a PLF owner since 2010. I used what I learned from Jeff way back in the days when it was a lot more difficult than it is now to build a program. I've since done 19 6-figure launches. It's going evergreen, so I don't have to launch anymore, which is beautiful. And it's just a wonderful thing. Personally, 4-time world juggling champion. I'm really good at throwing and catching things. I've been a husband since 1987, a father since 2002, and I coach people in what Chris may explain later in the silver level in Launch Club.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, Barry. And Julie, tell us about you. Welcome to the show.
I'm one of Jeff's Launch Club coaches as well. Like Barry, I am class of 2010 for Product Launch Formula. And I've been a coach for 3 years now. Prior to that, I had my own business. I was in Jeff's Plat Plus Mastermind for a long time, over 10 years. So yeah, I've been associated with Jeff for 14 years now.
You probably know a bunch of our guests who have been on the show already because you've been hanging out with them for years. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Dylan Frost to, Barry, different Barry.
Yeah, I mean, the Plat Plus group is really like a family. So yeah, very tight connections there. And my business that I had when I was in the Plat Plus group was in the niche of the stock market education. And that was an 8-figure business. So we did over $12 million a year in turnover. And I had a staff of 30 people. And I was the COO of that business. So not the front face talent. I wasn't the Jeff. I'm more like, if you know, on our team, our COO is named Jen Zills. I was more like the Jen in our universe. And so I was responsible for overseeing marketing, sales, running the team, doing cash flow management, all kinds of leadership skills. And that is what I now coach people on who have gotten to our Gold Plus level, which is where they're doing over $250,000 a year in their launch-based business.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, welcome to the show, Julie. And last but definitely not least, Jolene, tell us about your role.
Hello, Chris. Thanks for having me join the podcast today. My role is a Launch Club coach as well, and I focus on the early starters. So people that have an idea of making an offer, wanting to make an offer, and helping them get upwards to a $50,000 launch, but really focusing on the first few baby steps before that, getting their language right in terms of their avatar, how to attract them, how to understand what they really, really want. And we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show, I'm sure. But my background comes from a place of kind of stumbling along the trenches a little bit on my own and seeking my own tribe, and finding Jeff much later in the game, where I really wish that I found him a lot sooner. So I pieced together a lot of things in terms from a tech perspective, where I'm sort of a creative and I'd love to build sales funnels. And so, yeah, my background kind of started in the online dating world. I'll leave some cliffhangers on that for questions later, Chris. But I really started to understand traffic funnels before people really knew what that was. And then overseeing huge project management companies in the physical world, but having this moonlighting passion in the online world, which I got deep into about 20 years ago. So 20 years in the making of being a marketer, starting my own digital ads agency, and then falling into Jeff's world, which I absolutely adore.
And Jolene, the online dating, that was as a business owner, not a user.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. No, you got it.
Well, no, you know what? I was an early adopter.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, that's a different podcast. That's all.
Yeah, it is a different podcast.
We could do a whole deep dive on that. There's well, you were like considered the number one dating coach. You got to like high positioning within Canada with your company there, which is awesome. And I just want to mark that you're also a Canadian like me. So
yes,
we always welcome more Canadians on on Dare to Launch.
Yes, thank you. It's awesome.
Well, welcome to the show, all three of you, and appreciate you coming on to do this from your busy schedule as coaches, because I know we're doing lots of coaching calls and helping people every single week, and we're not here to actually talk or necessarily about the coaching program, but the levels of entrepreneurship. And the reason we're grounding it, I guess, in the program a bit and these different levels is because most of you listening are probably in one of these three levels. You're either in that beginner stage where what Jolene just talked about, the green to blue stage, where you're figuring out that offer, building your list, or maybe you just have an idea. Maybe you're in that next stage, which is what Barry talked about, which is making six figures, that silver to gold, or trying to get to six figures. You're struggling. Maybe you got an offer, but you're struggling with the scaling aspect of it.
Yep.
Or maybe you're already kicking butt in a lot of ways and you're working with someone like Julie in that gold plus. You're over 250,000, but you are struggling to get to that 7-figure level. And I think that the conversation I really wanted to have with the three of you is digging into these stages and what nuggets of value can we pull out from what you've noticed working with these entrepreneurs? Because we have hundreds of people in Launch Club and they're all at different stages in their business. But what I have noticed and seen is the stories coming out of the Launch Club is we see people move from that idea stage to the offer stage to where they're making 50,000 and 60 and 6-figure launches to all the way up to 7 figures. And we've had people in Launch Club for years and they have wound up getting to those gold plus or 7-figure stages. And I think there's probably some nuggets of wisdom we could pull out from what you have noticed as coaches and working and helping these people get from wherever they're at to the next level. So that's the big promise of this episode for each of you listening is we're going to, no matter what stage, pull out some wisdom on how you can get your business to the next level. So what do you guys think? Should we start at the beginner stage? I think, because I bet you there's a lot of people listening that, let's start with that, right? We'll make so you're gonna have to tune in, or if you're at that struggling to get 7 figures, you'll have to wait. All right, well, that'll be the big hook at the end.
Actually, if they're struggling to get 7 figures, I promise you, some of the early stuff that Jolene's going to talk about, they're missing.
Probably, yeah.
It always goes back to those basics. You go, oh damn, I forgot about that 5 years ago. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes we do things. Sometimes things work so well, we stop doing them.
So don't use that fast forward button, is what Chris is saying. Don't be. Yeah.
So, well, let's start off with this. Okay, I'm curious, when you are starting off in this launch club, you're working with a lot of people who are just in that initial beginning stage. What are some of those bigger, say, let's start with mindsets. Like, what are the biggest mindset shifts that have to happen during this phase of business for people to go from just an idea to executing a launch that's actually making them money?
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head here. I don't think we can ever really avoid the mental readiness. So in coming in, I think we see a lot of emotions in terms of like organization, trying to think about the big picture, the big plan, getting lost in sort of like the macro vision versus making little micro steps. So in the early stages, the biggest shift that I probably see is that people have an idea in terms of like what they think people want versus what people actually really do want. And so we kind of start with doing a lot of work kind of around some market research and understanding if your product or your idea is validated, is it in demand? And then really starting to work things through to help people understand the language. So sometimes we start developing word salad and we overcomplicate it. And like Barry said, we bring it back to the basics in terms of like, what words would your customer use in terms of identifying who they are so that they can understand, yes, I have this pain and the solution that you have solves my pain. And I can identify that you're for me and I need you. And so that you can get the buy-in.
Can I interject one important distinction here? And this is people at this beginning level that run into this all the time, and we see it so often. They are trying to offer a solution to a problem that people in their quietest moments don't really want to solve. It's a problem that they use to define themselves. So, and we've seen people go to work on it. So you need to have a coach or a mentor or someone in your life who says, is this actually a problem that someone is seeking a solution for and is willing to pay for that solution? If you can check those two boxes, you're along the way. But if you can take a cross section of someone's brain and you're offering something that, what do you mean? If I solve this problem, I don't know who I am. That be careful there. Yeah.
Go exactly. And you know, to speak to that, Barry, I was just speaking to somebody the other day where it's just a random interaction, and I love to help people, and it was just glaring obvious to me. Yeah. And it's that initial meeting, right? When we meet people, or whether you're meeting people through friends or a networking event, everyone, when you go to a networking event, nobody's thinking about what can I buy today? Everybody's thinking about what, and who can I sell today? So you never want to show up with like, my name is Jolene and I'm a lawyer. You want to show up and you want to take the I language out of as to what you do and who you are. And you want to target something that's about what will be compelling to this person, where I can kind of read the room and understand that they have a pain point and how can I say the language that I know is going to resonate with them. So that's kind of like really the start of the process to like, I really understanding that problem solution path and change that language from I language to what is this person, what do they want from me? And because they're thinking, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. All right. So I don't really care who you are. I just kind of understand what you do and if you can help me.
This is what I always call tuning people into their favorite radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And you've got to get people off self, right? Which is because running a business is sort of an ego thing to begin with. It's like, it's all focused on what I want to create, and, getting away from working for other people. So it's pretty easy when you're new in business to be focused 100% on what it is that matters to you. But what you're saying is you got to get off self and really get on your avatar, right? Like on your ideal client, who it is that they are and what is it that their needs are. How do they talk about their problems? How do they figure it out? So how do you do that? I'm hearing what I got to do, but like what's something I actually have to do if I'm in that situation right now to figure that out? Is it just testing, or do I do a lot of avatar work, or what?
Is this a topic that people are actually searching? You can look in and get search engine data that validates this is a problem that people have that they are actively searching for already. So one of the principles in sales is join the conversation that's already going on in your prospect's mind. So that means that conversation has to be happening. It has to be happening somewhere. So that's a great place to start.
Yeah. Is it happening in their mind? Are they writing about it? Are there forums about it? Are there Reddit articles about it? Are there people selling products about it? If you see people selling products about it and they're doing advertising, wonderful. You have landed upon something. And there are a slew of people in the world who will never buy from whoever's advertising. They're actually literally waiting for you. Take that in, you guys. They are actually waiting to hear it from you.
Yes, and I think I want to also kind of touch on something too. When we do our research, a lot of times we see our competitors as, oh no, the market's saturated. And it's actually a very, very good sign when you see a competitor that is doing very, very well. And that's when you want to help people understand. And I mean, in the business world, we call that somewhat of a SWOT analysis, right? And where you can take a look at your competitor to see what are they doing really well and what are they doing not so well, and how am I different? How do I have unique value propositioning? What is the better user experience so that I can have some edge alongside? All right. So, never be afraid of your competitors. Your competitors are your friends. And sometimes if you really, really work at it, sometimes your competitors end up buying you out where you have an awesome exit strategy too.
So for these beginners, the people just starting off, what are some of the bigger missteps that you consistently see for people? They're coming into the program and they're at some stage of business where they've been building a list but you must be solving consistent issues or problems across all of them. What are some of those things and missteps that people who are listening could be able to say, oh, I'm not going to fall into that trap?
Yeah. So one of the big things that I see a lot is people staying stuck in the thinking about what they want to do and planning in their mind rather than actually starting to create and get out there. So they have a business, but it's sort of a secret business. All right. So like we all know that like if we have a construction company, we're driving around in a truck and we don't have signage on our truck. That's a perfect opportunity to help people understand that you have a business and you have something to offer. So in the online world, when people are putting out any kind of programs, or it's like e-commerce or coaching programs, or they're developing, they offer a professional service, is that, they have to kind of get out of their head, leave their ego at the door. And sometimes, I see a lot of distractions where they'll work on the same thing over and over again. So even as a coach, we might look at something like a lead magnet or a landing page and go, this is good. Let's get it out there testing. And then suddenly they go back to create another landing page, thinking that it's going to be different or a little bit better. But as a coach, what we can easily identify now is that it can be a distraction because of fears of sometimes launching, fears of, do I have enough authority? Am I going to be good enough? Are people going to want my service? Oh, and once I launch, guess what that means? I have to serve. And we can't drop no balls when we actually start getting customers. And so, we see a lot of the imposter syndrome, breaking through those kind of mind blocks and helping people to see over the hurdles rather than the hurdle. So sometimes we just kind of shut down, when something triggers us or we're doing something new. And this is actually a really, really big thing. People are making a really, really big step in terms of coming out of a comfort zone, which might be being an employee and starting a business. And I think some people have, a hallucination that like, oh, I can be an entrepreneur and I can have like tons of freedom. And, I can, if my mom wants to meet me for lunch, I can meet her whenever I want to. But there's still expectations, there's still deadlines. And if you don't create like deadlines for yourself and keep them small little goals, having the lofty goal is super important. But being able to set some little mini steps that you can accomplish and celebrate along the way so that you're making progress, so that you don't end up being like, oh, somebody else is gotten to the step that I want to be at that I could have been at 6 months ago, right? And then we start to have these comparison things happening, right? The other thing too, with the early stage mindset is really understanding the value ladder in terms of what we're offering. And the value ladder, what that might look like is when we see other people or other competitors and you think, oh, they have a really big business and I want to be that person. Yes. Can you get to becoming that person? Can you get to becoming a person that can serve mass volumes of people? yes, it's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
But in the early starters, we have to understand that when we see those people, they've been working at it for a very long time. They've scaled their process. They have teams. So what you see now wasn't what you would have seen if you saw them years before. So that number one focus is to not think about like, oh my gosh, this is my huge goal that's like super unrealistic, to just kind of like, have a realistic goal. And I often say that like it is a huge win when you get your first client, especially through a way that you've never done it that way before in terms of how you market and attract people.
Hey, Chris, about that original question too, an early mistake that people make at the beginning. I can promise you that you guys, when you're doing this at the beginning, there's two voices you're going to hear. One is the voice in your head that's programmed by everything that you've experienced in your life. And the second is the market reaction. Believe the market reaction. Step over whatever's telling you this isn't good enough, this isn't ready, put it out there, and then believe the voice that comes back. Either people opt in or nobody opts in. That's the only thing you can count on early, because holy cow, we can have all kinds of thoughts. It could have been something that your fourth grade teacher said to you that keeps you from putting out a lead magnet that would have gotten 100 opt-ins a day, being shared by someone who has authority. I mean, you never know. You have to take the step to put stuff out. Do not believe that voice in your head in the early stages. And we work with people who say, oh, I'm very intuitive, I have all this intuition. Wonderful. Save that for how you decorate your living room or whatever it is. When it comes to your lead magnet in your business, put something out. We have one coach on our team that says 2 hours maximum on a lead magnet, something that you're going to offer to people in exchange for an email. And he's serious. 2 hours is plenty of time. I just built a huge list for a launch I was doing off something I made on Canva in 20 minutes. Just put it out there and listen to the voice of the audience.
That's awesome. That is, I think that's huge. And what I'm hearing a lot of is that people kind of need to get outside of just themselves, right? And I guess what role does, maybe is it mentorship, or is it community, or is it like just being around the right people? Because most people start off as solopreneurs. How important is it to be able to be around the right people, or be around people that can tell you if something is working or not working?
One of the things that I see people think that they need when they're starting out is that they think that, or they're looking for a coach, they think that they need accountability. And what they actually need,
That's right,
in my experience, is support and a judgment-free zone. So they need to be around people who get what it is that they're trying to do, who get the challenges that they're facing, who are facing similar challenges themselves, who are willing to exchange support, who are willing to go, hey, I've had that same thing happen to me. Like, I'm not going to judge you. Like, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're experiencing. I've been there too. And it's that kind of environment that, we've worked very hard to foster in Launch Club. It's different to accountability. It is accountability, but it's not. I kind of think of accountability as like a pushing, whereas what we kind of provide is a support structure and a safe environment in which you can flourish and grow and scale your business. And it's a subtle difference, but it's really, really important.
And a well-timed kick in the butt when it's time to just go.
With love, right? With love.
It's time to go.
It's time to put that lead magnet out there,
man. Put this damn thing out there. Yeah. Stop telling me you spent all night thinking about if it should be yellow or light green. Stop telling me that. Let's just go.
What's the biggest transformation you've seen between somebody who maybe they came in and they thought like, oh, they were struggling with that exact thing you're talking about, like getting their stuff out there and being willing to put it out there, or just they were being a perfectionist about everything before they put it out, right? Or whatever that was holding up. What's the biggest transformation you've seen where they've just like, once they got over that hump, everything kind of started to fall into place? Do you have an example?
Yeah. So we have like quite a few examples of that exact situation. Perfectionism is a really big one. Fear of like putting themselves out there, thinking that they're not going to get it right, or that it has to be perfect. And, we just recently had a really cool example where there was a very special date that was super in alignment of their avatar, where we just said, you know what? come up with an offer, wing it off the top of your head and just launch it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And if you get one sale, great, awesome. And when she launched it and she hadn't really launched, she was kind of, just kind of waffling a little bit in terms of like, am I doing the right thing? Are people going to want my offer? And then when she launched on this very specific day, she was absolutely just couldn't believe it. She's like, oh my gosh, I got sales. And when they get that first sale, you see a huge shift in terms of their confidence.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I want more. I want to do this again. So that level of confidence, once they, it's like the proof is in the pudding. We can talk about everything that we want to do, and we can guess and think about all the what ifs, but we really don't know until we try, until we put something out there. As Barry said, get it out there. Don't have a secret business. You have something that solves something. And a big thing too, I think with people when they might transition from being an employee to like selling something, is that mindset of selling is, I don't want to be a snake oil salesman. All right. They have that mindset. And so we try to help them shift into the mindset of thinking about, you're not selling anything, you're delivering value. And once they make that connection in terms of like, oh my gosh, I have value, I deliver value, that doesn't feel so icky, right? So a lot of times we just see these, it can be very psychological in terms of like what they're struggling with internally. And then they make that connection and then they hop over that hurdle. They're like, okay, what's next? And they feel ready and willing to go after it.
Along that lines, it's so easy to be influenced by a market that is cheap or selling things or giving things away, or that whole, well, why don't they just go learn it on YouTube? It is the most dangerous thing in the world you can do, is to fall into your avatar's beliefs, whatever limiting beliefs they have. Before I started selling, I sell what I've launched 19 times is a program for entertainers that teaches them about the business side of show business. I had a lot of success there. I came in there, when I came into that market with a $1,997 product, the most expensive product on the market for teaching entertainers about the business of show business was a $17 set of lecture notes from a magician that was, given like 5 years earlier. You should have seen it. It's funny. There's a forum where entertainers diss each other and whatever. My name was mud. It was like, who is this guy? Almost without, I think the exception of about 3, which is probably about 1.5%, are alumni of my program now. Do not fall into the story of this is out there on YouTube. This is something they can just please.
This is the thing. It's like,
good Lord.
We're kind of getting at an interesting juxtaposition here because, you need to be solving a problem that people actually have in order for them to want to pay you to solve it, right? And you don't want to go in with the assumption that you understand what they're willing to pay. Because I promise you, there are people out there who are willing to pay 10 times, maybe even 100 times what you think they're willing to pay to solve that problem.
And how often we undervalue ourselves because it comes easy to us. Our genius zone is easy for us, right? But other people, what's it worth for them to have access to that genius zone, right? That you have, or that knowledge that you have. And I think that that at the other side of it, when they get to that side where they have clients that are not only just buying from them, but then telling them how much it's made a difference in their life, that's where that level of confidence just grows immensely. At least that's what I've seen from the clients that I've talked to and worked with before. It's amazing once they have those testimonials on their side, their conviction becomes like an iron bar of like, okay, I can do this. I make a difference. It doesn't matter. Now all the doubts that they had, that stuff starts to melt away, and it becomes, now we're in that next stage, which maybe we should move to that now. Cause I think once you get that conviction in what you do, that confidence, and it's very much that internal journey. Maybe you've got some of that evidence that came in through a 5-figure launch and you're like, whoa, that was unexpected, but it was awesome. Now we're trying to get to 6 figures, right? That next level, that stage of like 6 figures, everyone's like, oh man, I want to make 6 figures in 7 days. That would be so cool, right? I think a lot of people, that's what they want when they say, I want a business, right? They say, if I could just do that, replace my my income from my day job with this, that's how I make that transition. So what's different at this stage? What are the different challenges that people wind up experiencing? And maybe Barry, you can start speaking to this. I know you work a lot with the Silver Group, and and it's an important step in an entrepreneur's life, because it's at that point that they get to decide, is this good enough?
or do I want more? And it's really important to know that, because if you've done a 50K launch, you are on the precipice. You are literally at the door of walking through into something bigger, and you have to decide who you want to be. A couple things that will help: lean into the mentors and the coaches that you trust, someone who has been there before. Lean into that person and trust them when they tell you that you're about to take some potentially very uncomfortable action. If you trust them, if they've helped you get to that place, whatever's helped you get to that place, you have to double down a little bit. Jeff talks about something called the launch echo. At this level in business, this is where the launch echo kicks in hard. Once you've done a 50K launch, you're going to start hearing from people in your industry. You're going to have the opportunity to go on news programs or podcasts and talk as an expert. You're going to have joint venture partners who want to come into your business and sell you things, or want you to sell their things. That's a big change. Just that mindset thing of maybe being a solopreneur to all of a sudden there's this light on me. And then that leads me to the next point. You have to thicken the velvet rope that's between you and your time, between you and the audience. Your time, you may have done everything in your business up to this point. You may have been on coaching calls, talking to people. This is the point where if you want to grow bigger than this, you have to just get a thicker velvet rope. And the analogy comes from this nightclub. You know, there's the dude standing at the front and he's got the arms, and you have to either know somebody or something has to happen for you to get in. That's almost who you have to become with your audience at this level in the business. And then finally, really at this level to move up, you have to build a team. No matter how small, you have to start filling in the gaps to handle the little stuff that you just never want to touch again. In fact, Warren Buffett talks about an avoid at all costs list. Really important at this point in life to get things onto your avoid at all costs list and find someone who can do them. As soon as you're doing something a number of times and you realize, I don't need to be doing this, create a document or a short Loom video or a video that shows it happening and get someone on your team to do it. Never do it again.
I love that, Barry. To speak to that, I definitely know a lot of millionaires and even some billionaires where you do not see them managing their social media, posting their own social media, and cruising through social media. It's just not effective use of their time. And that's the positioning where you can start to go towards. So if you're like, I really hate doing social media, you have that team and you also have some ROI. With that capital, you can build that and you can outsource when that starts to become a really beautiful
Your
business.
time goes to the people who have invested in being in your world, and they're going to become your best spokesman going forward, and they're going to have the most change in their life.
Is there anything else that really makes, like, when you say do not do list or like things I'm never going to do again, like, okay, social media is one. And I think a lot of people might be saying, I would love to delegate that, right? I want to get rid of that. But like, is there anything that like they tend to want to hang on to that they probably shouldn't be? Let me ask you that.
Both ways. It's sometimes very obvious from the outside to see the thing that keeps them from doing that. And we have to fight. We have to get in there and say, what's your proof? Where's the data that shows that this is working? Are you willing to take a test on this and just run it with this different way for a little while? Maybe it's a headline or a lead magnet, something you're going to give people. Or maybe it's just a simple bonus that you can add to the program. Don't fall in love with your deliverables. Fall in love with the transformation that you're giving to your person. Don't fall in love with the deliverables. And then this is going to be completely opposite. Fall in love with this deliverable. If you have something that gets you to a 50K launch, do not go instantly to trying to create the next thing. Leverage that one. You've put a lot of time and resources into making this work and being able to launch it. And you don't get there by accident. You get there through some strategic work. Don't instantly just say, now I'm going to tweak this. Let that thing, find another way to deliver that, find another way to offer it, add something new, but enjoy the compounding interest of what you've built that got you there.
Yeah.
I see that mistake made a lot of times. People
moving on from something that's working rather than doubling down on it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things I see when you get to more than 250,000, 500,000, $1 million level in a business is the challenges that people face is often how they got there was as the solopreneur, and they were doing a lot of the things, right, in the business. And often that pressure to do a lot of those things has taken them away further and further from their actual genius zone, which may have been the seed of their initial success to start with, right? And so it definitely at that stage, an entrepreneur is often pushing up against their personal burnout. And that can mean that they make decisions from a place of tiredness as opposed to how can I make this machine function better? How can I make it more efficient? How can I improve the systems and processes in this machine of my business so that I can get my time back and get back into my genius zone? And I like to think about, yes, outsourcing, delegating, but personally, I don't encourage people to ever really take their eye off the ball of the things that are the engine of the business. And so often that is sales,
Absolutely.
that is marketing. Cash flow is king, right? The things that are bringing the cash into the business, they are really important. And as your business gets more complex, you also have to turn your attention to efficiencies and systems and processes, or your overheads will just eat everything up.
I've heard you say, Julie, you need to stop being the solopreneur, stop being this, and become a leader. And I love
Yeah.
when you talk about that. It's really important.
Well, that scaling of a business to say six figures is the first foray into, I think, a lot of people's leadership
Absolutely.
capacity, right? So they might be hiring, say, the first person that they ever, like, it
Yeah.
might be their first customer service person, or it might be their first
Yeah.
tech person that they decide to bring on to the team. It often is something like that. Or maybe it's a social media, or maybe it's something like that. But what would be a valuable lesson in leadership for that person who's just working with their first person that they're hiring?
The principle is, start the way you intend to finish, right? Whether you have a 1-person team or a 30-person team, how do you want to treat those people? How do you want to make them feel? You need to be inspiring them with the vision, the bigger why of what we're doing here, and being clear on that yourself. But before you even get to that, one of the things that I find is like a big mindset block for that solopreneur who's gotten to a certain level. They're pretty tired. They're close to burnout. They really do need to be delegating and offloading a whole bunch of stuff in order to get back to what they love doing and what they're really genius at. And yet there's a limiting belief, which is if I scale my business, that means more drama. That means managing a whole bunch of people, and I'm not good at that, and that's going to be a nightmare. And they might have a bunch of different stories, or I'm going to have to learn about, I don't know, SEO or whatever it is that they don't want to have to deal with. That is the thing that becomes the limiting belief, and it's got to get turned on its head somehow at that point of exhaustion, of that point of I can't take any more of this, so why would I want to grow? You've got to take that and go, well, actually, growth is my path to getting my time back. Growth means I can afford to hire. Growth means I can afford to get someone in to help me streamline processes and set up systems. Growth is my path to freedom, and kind of turn it on its head. That's a very important mindset shift that often needs to happen at that level.
I love that, Julie. Like, something that I keep hearing, and I have to remind myself too, is to celebrate the discomfort in the growth, because I know that I'm only growing when I'm uncomfortable. But knowing that that light is at the end of the tunnel, and I know there's this quote that gets thrown around all the time, is that the magic that you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. So you go through this trajectory of like, I did all the work. And then you might have this feeling of like, I'm so good at what I do. Can I trust anybody else to let this go? And if you don't know how to let go, then you're not really having a level of growth to understand how can I recognize new leaders and develop them so that I can have the freedom that I really desire.
Is there anything that really was a silver bullet or really unlocks, say, an offer from going from say 50,000 to 150,000 or 250,000? And is it just a matter of it's an efficient offer, so now we're spending more on ads, our list is bigger, we're getting more clients? Or is there something else that people need to be considering when they're making their offer? And I'm wanting to maybe hit on specifically the debrief stuff that you guys do, because all of you have done debriefs with clients that when you look at a launch, you dissect it, you figure out from front to back what worked, what didn't. So there must be some things you're really anchoring into that you're identifying for people to take their launch from, because we've had so many go from like 5 figures to 6 figures, 5 figures to 6 figures after doing debriefs. What is there a silver bullet you're always looking for? Or is there something that you're driving them towards to be able to do it? Or is it just about efficiency and then scaling up the ad spend?
There's definitely stuff to look at. I remember one of my very first launch, I didn't know what the stuff was. I see people right now focusing way too much on the stuff, and when they stop focusing on the stuff, it's wonderful. So my first seed launch, I didn't have that luxury of talking about the stuff, because in a seed launch, that first launch you do before you have a product, there is no stuff. So I was talking to a person on the phone. I sold my first launch out on the phone with phone calls, because it was very technical back in 2010 to do this. And I didn't have that technical skill, and I didn't have a team. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I just talked about opportunity. I was on the phone with this person talking about opportunity. And all of a sudden I hear all this noise, and I'm like, is this not a good time? The fire flight in me was trying to, save him. I was like, oh, maybe this isn't a good time. And he goes, no, I'm just going out to my car to get my wallet. And it was like, at that moment, I was like, oh my gosh.
It's actually happening.
It was a story in my head versus what was happening. I was like, he must be dizzy. So yeah, you know what? It's
but when you say stuff, you mean like deliverables, like
the modules, how many times a week we're going to meet, what happens in module 1. It's like, yeah, you have to cover that stuff. And Jeff teaches this so beautifully, but it's just a little piece of it. It's the whole experience of them being in your pre-launch and in your offer is about them picturing the next chapter of their life. Finally, someone understanding them enough. And then, and that same guy wrote me later after he paid and came in and said, so when do we meet? What are we doing? It was just an eye-opening thing to have early in a business. And that may never happen to you, but please take this story to heart. This is what your avatars are thinking a lot. They don't care right away. What time, how long, what do I have to download? It just doesn't matter. But I will tell you, when you're first starting out or when you're looking to scale to the next level, it seems like an important thing to focus on, but it's not.
So the question of like, when should I run my coaching calls is not that important a question to answer versus what is your coaching call going to change in their life? Like, that's actually what matters.
Yeah. In a year, you're going to, what you just talked about, who cares what time it is? Yeah. It just doesn't matter. And you don't get to say that, but you just don't go there. You don't go there. Stay on their transformation.
And if they care about that transformation, they don't care when the coaching call is either. Like they're willing to show up for something like that because it's such a high value proposition to transform into that new person or that next level of reality that they want to be in.
Yeah, it's what they've been waiting for.
As far as getting to 6 figures, how important is, again, you mentioned this early, actually, right off the bat, you said being in the right community, having people outside of you, Barry, to talk about these kind of things and spot what's I guess right or wrong in your fault. Like, how important is community? And any of you can speak to this, but like what's the community aspect or mentorship role in this stage of business going from 5 figures to 6 figures and beyond?
Again, back to like what I said in terms of my introduction is it's those puzzle pieces. You're given a roadmap and it's a formula and you just follow it. But sometimes when you're following it, even if you have that roadmap and you're going at it alone, you still have these little sort of voices in your head that were like, maybe I should go down that path, or maybe I should try to reverse engineer this. Yeah. Maybe I should try that. Like just bright and shiny object kind of syndrome, we call it. Decision paralysis. When it comes to like launching and in online, there's also some systems that we have to put together. And with those systems, we need to kind of understand, well, what will work with systems? So when you're in a community, you have the opportunity, again, it comes down to that whole opportunity, is positioning yourself in a group of like-minded people that are built like you. Some of them are in the trenches with you at the same time, having the exact same emotional journey. Some of them are ahead of you, which means that you can go to them for support, ask questions, so that when you say, oh, my Facebook account locked me out, has this happened to anybody? You're absolutely going to have somebody tell you, yes, it's happened to me. Here's what I did to fix it. Here's a resource. So, in terms of that community, it's making that decision to recognize the value in shortening the path, right? where you don't feel like you're on a uphill battle on the road.
I guess the ability to model those that have already been there or understand the path, you can shrink, like you can invest in getting around those right people and shorten the time. Because that's what I notice, at least when I'm talking to people who are considering joining Launch Club.
Yep.
That's a lot of my role, is talking to people on the front end, thinking about this, doing this thing, jumping into the program. And a lot of times one of their bigger priorities is not is speed. Like it's not that they can't figure it out on their own. They've already figured it out a lot on their own. And maybe some of you listening are like that. You figured a lot on your own, but the speed at which you get to that next level can be so much faster when you have the right modeling or the right examples or the right people around you to give you that, I guess, that extra puzzle piece to fill in the spot that maybe you don't have.
It's kind of like when we join our local chamber of commerce, right? We see a lot of business owners that might be in trades or whatever. They join their local chamber of commerce and they invest to be there. And really that investment is for your own positioning. All right. And I think that's like a really key thing also in a community, to position yourself where you can make connections. You might have collaboration opportunities, and you also have a whole bunch of people, not even just one or one coach. I mean, in our program, we have multiple coaches with multiple strengths. And then also the people that have been doing it. So you have so many people that you can get help very quickly. So you're not just sitting there noodling in your head in terms of like, oh my gosh, I have a problem, and you're spinning your wheels and then thinking, I have nobody to ask.
The results can be incredibly tangible. Like I have a great example from my own business, from when I was in Jeff's Plat Plus group, and I had a launch that I was doing. We were about 4 days into the launch, and we had achieved $250,000, which sounds like a great launch, but it was about a third of what my target was for that launch. And I reached out to the group, went, oh, this thing is just going sideways. What should I do? Who's got any ideas? And was able to implement the ideas that they threw back at me, sort through them, implement them, and ended up closing with the $950,000 launch instead of a $250,000 launch. So yeah, it definitely can make a huge difference.
If you're expecting $1 million launch and you're at 250,000, how? I mean, you think it's tough going out there and doing your first launch and making no sales. It could be just as tough, probably, expecting $1 million and only getting half of that, or like quarter of it, right? And that's a totally different thing, because the pressure is on. And how easy is it to be frozen in that moment, potentially, or unable to think you can change anything because you've done all this work for 6 months or whatever to get this thing, and then when you open card, it just doesn't work. Now you're like, what can I do in 1 day or 2 days? But what you're saying is, with the right people who have been there, you can actually make a huge difference with the right.
Exactly. And with the timely advice.
Super.
You know, that was a group I could reach out to and get answers from quickly. And time was of the essence in that case.
You know, it's funny, this conversation can also work in terms of, I want to grow my business organically, as opposed to I want to spend a little money to. If you have the luxury of listening to this podcast, I promise you, in your entire life, money has always replaced itself. And you have never, ever gotten a moment of your time back. So yeah, if you want to grow your business organically, it's going to cost you a lot of time. If you want to grow your traffic organically, it's going to cost you more time. Depending on where you're at in your life, and do you have more time or do you have more money? There's a lot of variables in this equation. For me, it's always been about, how do I get this going and operating quickly? I was a juggler, so I dealt in milliseconds of making corrections. So maybe that was something there that I just learned. What does it take to get this done quickly? It takes mentorship. It takes writing a check, sending a Venmo payment, and getting the answer now instead of wasting 2 weeks of my life.
This might be a good time to transition over to the impact stage, is what we kind of refer to it as. And that's getting your business from that 6 figures to multi 6 figures and 7 figures beyond. And it is something that, you know, within Launch Club, which has been around for around 9 years, almost 10 years now. And it's, I mean, I remember I came in, I think, the second year of Launch Club, and I don't think we had hardly any. I mean, there's maybe a couple of big businesses within Launch Club that were in that like multi-six-figure range. And now we have, I'm not sure the exact number, but I feel like it's over 50 people or 60 people within that Gold Plus, which is 250,000 plus or over in Launch Club's Gold Plus section. And so this has become a fairly powerful section of our coaching community, which I know, Julie, you work with fairly directly. And there's got to be, and you've also built your own seven-figure businesses. So what's different for people at this stage when they get to that 250,000 or they're really wanting to go for seven figures?
Yeah.
What's different for them now?
Well, in order to get to that $250,000 level, you have got a validated offer, at least one validated offer that's working and producing, probably 5-figure launches, multiple, maybe a couple times a year. You might also have some recurring revenue streams in your business. So that's something that we encourage people to look at adding into their business, because it kind of allows you to not be fully reliant on that launch income, which can be quite lumpy. And adding in some recurring revenue, kind of, especially if you can get that recurring revenue to cover your, your staff costs or your, some of your basic tech running costs, that's awesome, because then that's covered. And then, the launches are kind of the cream on top that goes straight to profitability. So when you get to this level, you kind of need to be looking at how do I increase the cadence of my launches without burning out my list? How do I add new types of offers so that I can have more promotions throughout the year that are different, that don't, burn out my list? How do I continue to grow my list? How do I exponentially grow my list? And so that might mean, how do I actually really catapult my profile in the public sphere to very sought after kind of, expert in the field status? I might look at, how do I really get my positioning and light a fire under that, really get some good PR happening, some great, content delivery. Might be YouTube channel, might be podcast. It might be, when I'm at that stage, I can have the kind of support and team that may allow me to do something like organize my own summit, right, of experts in the field, not just me. But that's a great list builder. If you can organize and run a summit, that can be an absolutely fantastic list builder, because you get all the other experts to contribute their lists to the promotion of the summit, stuff like that. So there's more advanced strategies that you can do to just catapult to the next level. It doesn't have to be a slow and steady grind. It literally can be put the platform in place. And I think that that's, a lot of what we're talking about in the levels up to silver is put the platform in place that's going to get you to that 5-figure launch and to 6 figures in your business overall. And then once you have that platform, that is a place from which you can really catapult if you put your eye on what are the leverage points in my business that are really going to explode things for me.
So it sounds like this is it sounds fun when you describe it like that in some ways, but also it sounds like it could be because you're not making small moves. It sounds like you're making big moves now because you're a larger entity, and the ability to, grow your list by thousands and thousands or to make millions and millions more is actually within your grasp. But I'm curious, is there a mindset shift that has to happen for people to be able to operate at that 7-figure versus the 6-figure level? And is it to do with delegation, or is it to do with, a belief system around them, or is it just different for every person that they have to work something out? What have you seen as you've worked with, I guess, dozens of these?
I think there's a few things. One of the big mindset pieces is just being really willing to go that big and be that big as a personality, as a force, as an expert. And when you put yourself in the place of service, it makes it a lot easier. So that's kind of, the mindset hack. Jeff talks about this a lot. Sales as service. We're about having an impact in the world, which is why he originally called this level impact. We now refer to it as Gold Plus, but it's about change. You're here to change the world now, and you can now, right? Like you have the platform built and the systems in place where you can really catapult and you can make some massive change in people's lives. And that's exciting. That's absolutely exciting. And it can be absolutely terrifying. So, you know, you've got to deal with the mindset issues of the terrifying part, and that's really what the community is there to help you with, and the coaches are there to help you with, because one thing that crushes imposter syndrome better than anything else is to be surrounded by people that you love and respect and admire, who then say to you, wow, you're awesome, what you're doing is great, wow, look at you go, right? That crushes your imposter syndrome better than anything.
I want to back up just 1 second to the top of everything you said. I think there's one decision that has to come before all of this. And then everything you said is like spot on, the steps to take, the mindsets to adopt. But if you can get so dang clear that this is something you really want, understand what it is, and then be really clear that you want this. Because what I can tell you is if you have a great plan A, and that may be the life you're living right now, where your business is at, and this plan B of going, into this bigger 7-figure thing, 8-figure with a team and leadership, if that doesn't happen, and that's fine, save yourself some time. In other words, you need to really want this to happen if it's going to happen, and then evoke everything that Julie just shared. Because, it's funny, moving from like a top silver, you enter silver at 50K, and then we work with you, get your launches up to 6 figures. And then when you have enough in your business, you get to go to gold. The truth is, at least in this country, in America, where I'm at, I'm the only one in America on this call. Holy cow. With taxes and operational costs, the jump from revenue 100K to 300K will only yield a very marginal higher bottom line, depending on how you run your business. It's not massive. It's not what you think. It's like, no, now I'm making 300K. It's not that. Yes, it makes a business bigger, possibly opens more doors, and gets you closer to that 7-figure mark. Again, if you want that, this is the path. Do that. But again, you have to be really clear on your intentions and your goals. Make sure that you really, really, really want this. A lot of people, they stay in silver, or they're in gold, and they're happy, and they're doing this work, or they've been running this business. It's not secret, it's doing well, but they're not constantly pushing to this thing. They're really happy with a mid-6-figure business and having a lot of free time and a couple of VAs that take care of business, and like to spend a lot of time on the beach playing with their dog. I know someone like that. I see him every morning. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like, get super clear. Is that something you want? And if it is, everything we've shared on this podcast is the path to get there. And but if that decision at the very top is, no, I'm good. Wonderful. Work to maintain your business. Get yourself out of more things.
It's funny that theme runs through all the stages, right? You have to really want this, because, initially, people, I think, sometimes jump into business because they don't want what they currently have, which might be a job that's running their life, or they don't have the freedom or the flexibility. But then they say, well, I want to have a business so I have more time, right? Or so I have more freedom. And it's like, when you get into running a real business, especially when you're growing it from the ground up, from nothing, the last thing you really have is time in some capacity. You have sacrifice, you have a lot of effort and challenge and finances going out just to build something and learn and grow from the bottom up. And what I'm hearing is, even at every stage, from getting to the silver and getting to 6 figures, and then also getting to the next stage of 7 figures, you have to really, really want it and be clear on why you want it. You want it for the impact you're going to have on the world, or you want it because you really do want to be able to have this lifestyle that you provide for yourself and your family, or whatever it is. And so there has to be some big reason behind wanting to be uncomfortable, wanting to go through a period of growth. And that period of growth for people, it's not absolutely necessary. So if you don't really want it, you're not going to do it, right? So when somebody says like, all right, I really do want it, how do they know that they really want it? Is there something that you just feel inside, or do you have an example of where you've seen somebody say come into the program and you've unlocked, they've unlocked that for themselves, and it's become like, oh man, that, like, what's on the other side for them? What's that carrot, if you will, for them to want to go to that next level?
I mean, I can definitely provide one example from our Gold
I
Plus
think,
group, Mary Barbera, who has a wonderful seven-figure
oh yeah,
business. A lot of it is evergreen, and that's for a reason, because that's in
yep,
keeping with the impact she's trying to have, which is she's trying to change the way that autism is treated in children, and in particular interventions in early childhood, um, toddlers, and people are just discovering that their child might have autism. And so, yeah, she has this big why. I want to change the way autism is treated in the world. And when parents need
yeah,
that, what she has to offer them, they need it right away. Like the earlier the intervention, the better. So as soon as they figure out my child might need this, they need what she has to offer, which is why her business model is launching but evergreen, so that the people who need it can get it immediately as they need it. So I think that's a wonderful example of someone who has taken the mission, taken what Launch Club could offer her, what the product launch formula method could offer, to make a really viable business that is scalable, that has wonderful systems and processes, that runs 24/7 all year around, and also
yeah,
gives her a great lifestyle.
yeah.
Isn't just, you know, the impact isn't the only thing that's important. The impact on the world isn't the only thing that's important. We have this thing that we call launch life, right? Which is having the life that you want, designing your business around the life that you want as well.
It's funny, Chris, you asked if there are people who get to that level and then realize, oh, I don't want this. I was going to say, I know Coach Julie and Coach Don so well. Those people don't get in. There's quite an interview to get into there. So it's kind of funny. I was thinking when you asked that, I was like, no, nobody does that, because yeah, I know some people who've been filtered out because the burn wasn't there. And Julie and Don can just tell, like, no, this is not the person who's going to show up and play this way. So yeah, it's wonderful. And I get to keep working with them.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's great too. But
It's fantastic.
It's because you, from what you've described, you've got the 6-figure business just running with the lifestyle thing and getting to chill with the dog on the beach and doing that sometimes.
Like
that's a great thing. But really, I can imagine that there are some people who initially might think that's what they want, but then going through the process of understanding like what it really takes and what it's gonna be. Because you mentioned like, okay, great, you got 250,000, but like to get to that 300, 400, 500, you're not going to make a whole lot more money, but it's going to be a lot of headaches for the next little bit to figure out how to get to that 7-figure where you really see the extra lifestyle freedom and flexibility come through. Yeah. You have to want to save the world in some way, right?
Yeah. More and more. Yeah.
This might be a great time for a quick taco break.
What?
If you thought we weren't doing a taco break in this, you better believe we're going to be doing a taco break. But this is fun because this is a chance for you all to answer some fun taco related questions that I get to ask people. And we like to start off with the easy ones and we steadily get spicier as we go along. All right. So
no gluten though, right?
Well, we'll see. Here's my first question for you. All right. Hard shell or soft shell
Hard
tacos?
Shell. Hard. No, what are you talking about? They're the gluten-free ones, Barry. The hard shell ones are the gluten-free ones, dude.
No,
you can get corn in the soft.
Okay.
Soft, beautiful corn, and they hold together. You bite into that hard one, you just feel like you've done something wrong. It explodes, and the party's kind of over.
Well, this has been an ongoing debate on our show, so I don't know if we still have an answer yet.
Jolene, don't ask me because I will be like the anomaly in our company about the taco thing.
What?
Yeah.
You don't like tacos or no?
No. it so much.
Oh, that's okay. Well,
Is there a way to kick her off?
yeah, I don't know if we should have brought you on this show. No. Our ongoing debate about hard shell and soft shell, I do think that there's a value in hard shells, but the first season was all soft shell people.
Right.
And now this season, we're getting some hard shell people on. So I appreciate that we got some support for them. Are we going for a mild, medium, or spicy taco?
Mild to medium.
If you were to dare to have one.
Well, look, I'm going to put a caveat. I'm definitely medium, but I want to taste the flavor. It has to be very flavorsome. And I don't want the flavor to be overpowered by the chili.
I would agree with you. I like flavor, not like my mouth is burning and I need a jug of icy water to stick my tongue in
Right.
and then can't have a conversation.
Like most things in life, I like to not know if I'm going to be alive at the end of it. So I will go with whatever they offer that's the hottest. I like that feeling of like really the edge, like, oh, I may not make it through this. I think a great taco, the first bite, I have a fairly dramatic coughing fit.
Are we still talking about tacos?
All right. How about guacamole? Yes or no? Good. Are we pro guacamole on a taco or no guacamole?
Yes,
I'm on
guacamole.
the side. I'm on the side.
Fats are healthy for your brain.
Side.
All right.
It's an amateur condiment. You want to be able to control it.
Gotcha. All right. If you could eat tacos with any musical artist, living or dead, who would you choose to eat tacos with?
Bob Marley.
Elton John.
Ooh, Elton John's a good one. Yeah. I like Bob Marley as well. That would be fun. Probably eat a lot of tacos with Bob Marley. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm going to jump on the Marley train. Yeah.
Because he's getting the munchies.
I never thought about this, but yeah.
And you cough when you eat tacos with Bob Marley, don't you, Barry?
If you were to eat tacos at any modern day like monuments in the world, what would you recommend people eat tacos at?
Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu.
Whoa.
I'm thinking about going there actually this year. So
I would do it.
I'm going to say Grand Canyon.
Oh, Grand Canyon.
Ooh.
Wow.
I feel like Jeff would agree with that one.
Yeah. They got to be
Definitely
cold.
going to get a hotter taco.
You're going to be cold by the time you get there, if you do the rim or anything. It's just, there's not. For me, tacos are a very beachy food. I like, not on the sand, but just like vision of the ocean is nice. It's with some Marley. Well, if they have street tacos and there's like a menu of all the different kinds, I usually order one of most of them. I just get like a big plate of all of them. I just like all of them.
If eating tacos gave you a superpower, what superpower would that be?
I feel like I need more details in that question.
You're going to go back to your dating app experience.
I would love to fly. I really would.
Wow. Tacos would make you fly. Flying would be a cool superpower, 100%.
I think a perfect taco for me would slow my mind down a little bit. My mind goes very quickly. So that would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bite, cough, think. Yeah.
Cool. So what about this? All right, this one's kind of meta. If you had to help a client craft a taco offer for $10,000, a $10,000 taco offer, and we had to unleash our Launch Club coaches on that.
Wow.
How would you think about that?
It's like the thing where they say, sell this taco, and you hand it to them. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's like the sell me this pen, but this time tacos.
I would just say you need to talk
Great.
to Coach Julie.
Hunt that to me, Barry. Thanks. Put me on the spot.
That's called the no-look dish. Just
Here, have a taco. I think that generally it's about exclusivity, right? So what is the most exclusive taco that you could not get anywhere else with the equivalent of a taco chef with 3 Michelin stars, We're going to fly in this amazing taco chef, and we're all going to go to this incredible place on the beach, and you're going to learn how to make the most incredible tacos you've ever tasted in your entire life from this 3 Michelin star taco chef. And it's just, one weekend, you'll never forget it. It's $10,000.
Maybe the best example of what we talked about earlier, to not talk about the box of stuff ever, is what Julie just gave. Like, we didn't talk about what went in the taco. It didn't matter. You had me at Taco Ship we jumped onto.
Yeah, make it an experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even
Beautiful.
follow that up. That was amazing, Julie.
No,
I'm sold. I might start liking tacos because of what you just did for me there.
I got
Right.
one. It's 10 grand.
Or it could be just like eat tacos, with the amazing Launch Club coaches. That's worth $10,000, right?
That'd be
Pick their
fun. Oh
brains,
my
like a
God.
taco mastermind where
Right.
you're with all the top tier, other business people in a great place eating tacos by a Michelin star chef. I'm sure like that already sounds like a great value. Man, we should do that offer sometime. Just like eating tacos with Jeff. That'll be their next offer.
Tacos with Jeff. So great.
Yeah.
Why not?
Fireside chats with Jeff and tacos.
Awesome. Well, thank you for indulging me with the 2-minute taco break. And this whole conversation has been awesome for all of you. And I want to give each of you a chance just to finish off because, a lot of our listeners, they're all people who want to take their business to the next level, whether they're brand new, just starting off, and they're looking to get their first launch under their belt, or if they're looking to get their offer that's working up to another level of 6 figures and beyond, or maybe they just want to get their lifestyle and make an impact in the world and get to that 7-figure level so that they can save the world in their niche. No matter what it is, we ask them to dare to launch that next level. And that's why we call this show Dare to Launch. So one of the questions we ask everybody at the end is, I want to give you each a chance to answer this, is why should they dare to launch?
I think the easiest thing in the world to do is to tell yourself that what I'm thinking or what I offer has already been done, that it's too late. Who would care? Who would listen to me? That's the default. That's the default belief because of fight and flight and all kinds of psychology that gets us here. That's what muggles do. Those who dare to launch, they do it because they are afraid of not doing it, because they're afraid of not launching and putting something out and getting that idea out of their head into the world. They know, or maybe they're just hearing it for the first time right now. There are hundreds of thousands of people who will only truly hear you. I mentioned this earlier, but it doesn't matter. Even if you're saying the same thing that Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, Anne Lamott, it doesn't matter. Pick your leader of choice. There are hundreds and thousands of people in the world who are waiting for you to dare to launch, to get in front of them and say it in a way that is uniquely yours. And I've learned this by debriefing hundreds of people and challenging them to take this risk. Get out of what you should be doing. Say it in a way that's uniquely yours. It's scary. This whole adventure, it's scary. It's wrought with doubt, indecision, deadlines, lost sleep, tacos. And if all that doesn't sound exciting to you, then we probably can't be friends. Jump into the business. That's what I'm going to tell you. Take the risk. Dare to launch.
When you say why should you dare to launch, is get super crystal clear on your own why, but also think about how that impacts you, your family, how you want to show up. Where do you want to picture yourself at the end of your life where you're not going to have any regrets in terms of what you didn't do, where you don't want to get to a position of shoulding on yourself. I should have done this. I should have done that. All right. So in the why, right? Your why might be financial. It might be survival. All right. Sometimes when we go into survival, we put our blinders on, we shift gears, and we're in robot mode if we only have ourselves to depend on. All right. That might be the mindset between like, I just want to have an income that replaces my career income because I might have a child at home that needs me a little bit more. Maybe you have a special needs child. Maybe you have a parent. Maybe you have somebody that you need to take care of. Or maybe that why is you want more freedom. You want to be like Barry, enjoying the beach with your dogs. Or maybe your vision is so much bigger that you want to be able to create an income stream to help people have a lifestyle and an income, right? That's when we start talking about the gold plus, right? When our purpose becomes greater than just paying your own bills, you have other people that are counting on you and telling you how great you've made their life because they love the culture and the business that you've created. All right. Dare to launch because you want to be remarkable, and that's okay. Right. And that's not, we have like good side of our ego and there's going to be like negative sides of our ego, but being remarkable is something that you can give back to the world. Right. So that's sort of my take on it. Do it because you love it. And if you do something because you love it, don't think about the money. The money will come if you do something that you love and you stay consistent and absolutely relentless in getting to the other side.
So I'm going to take a slightly different tack here and unpack the word dare a little bit. Because if you think back in your life, when are times when you have been dared and actually done something that was completely you weren't expecting to do? You were probably dared by your friends. You were probably encouraged by people that you knew, loved, and trusted to go beyond your current comfort zone and do something unusual, do something unexpected, do something remarkable, as Jolene said. And so, yeah, it's, I think, one of the great things that happens inside of Launch Club is the kind of community of people who are like-minded, who will dare you to go to the next level, to do something that you would never have dreamed of doing before. And you will now do it because you're borrowing from them their belief in you. They are giving you, they are lending to you their belief, and you're using that to catapult yourself to the next level. And that is amazing and beautiful. And I love that about the word dare.
Well, thank you for being on the show today. All three of you are awesome. And for our launch family, thank you for listening. And we hope this conversation inspires you to dare to launch.